4 days. That's right. 4 days can change your entire life. Too good to be true, you think? Dr. Joe Dispenza is about to show you how everything can change for you. This researched evidence he is going to present will revolutionize your life after you take the steps he explains. Get ready to stop worrying about your future and begin creating your future. Without further ado, here is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
So then when a person starts feeling the emotions of their future, in that instant, their heart begins to respond very differently. And we've measured this. The heart begins to become more coherent. It starts to beat in a more rhythmic pattern. And that by living by the emotions of fear and resentment and frustration and impatience actually causes the heart to beat out of rhythm. And people spend 70% of their time of their lives living by those stress hormones. Living in stress is living in survival. So the fundamental question is, can you teach people then how to create a more coherent brain? And can you teach them how to regulate their heart and be able to control how their heart responds? We are literally in a new era right now. And this era is about information. And in an age of information, ignorance is a choice. Technology affords us the ability to research anything we want to research. And every time you learn something new, you make new synaptic connections in your brain. In fact, learning is making new connections. And the Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learn just one bit of information and they concentrated on it for an hour, they doubled the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. But if they didn't review that information, if they didn't think about it, if they didn't repeat it over and over in their mind, those connections pruned apart within hours or days. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections, keeping those connections in a long-term relationship. And that information then begins to become installed in the circuitry in your brain. The question is, though, what do you do with that information? That if you can then take that information and apply it, personalize it, demonstrate it, initiate it in some way, if you can get your behaviors to match your intentions, if you can get your actions equal to your thoughts, if you can get your mind and body working together, you're going to have a new experience. An experience then enriches the philosophical circuits in the brain, laying down networks of neurons. And the moment those neurons string into place, the brain makes a chemical. And that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. And the moment you feel like a leader, the moment you feel more unlimited, the more you feel gratitude from some experience, now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind is intellectually understood. And we can say that knowledge is for the mind and experience is for the body. And in that moment, you are embodying the truth. And for one moment, your mind and body are aligned to a new destiny. And it is the environment and the interaction in the environment that actually changes genes. And we've measured this, that in 4 days, people can change their genetic expression if they begin to think differently, make new choices, do different things, create new experiences, create new feelings. They will change their genetic destiny. So then, in that moment, then, if you've done it once, or if you're training somebody to modify their behaviors, and they're able to do it once, then they should be able to do it again, yes or no? And if you can repeat an experience over and over again, you will begin to neurochemically condition the mind and body to begin to work as one. And when you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it as well as your mind, now it's innate in you. It's second nature. It's automatic. You're beginning to master that philosophy. We have studied brains in change. We've done over 8,500 brain scans, and we now know there's a formula that you can teach people to change. We work with CEOs and companies all over the world, from Coca-Cola to Google to Sony to Cisco to Pfizer, in an interest to work with upper management to teach them a model of change. And when you change individuals, you can change a culture. My interest then is to not only measure just the brain, but we also know that it requires two ingredients for a person to begin to make a significant change. Number one is a clear intention, a vision, an idea of the future. And when a person begins to select a new idea in the future, if they can begin to emotionally embrace what that future is going to feel like, because they're so caught up in their inner vision, they begin to feel an elevated emotion. An emotion like gratitude, an emotion like inspiration, an emotion like motivation. And you can actually measure what happens to the heart when this occurs. And our research shows that that's absolutely possible. And you don't have to be a Buddhist monk. You don't have to be a nun with 40 years of devotion. You don't have to be a minister, a scholar, an academic. That common people can learn how to do this. The side effect of this is that they begin to produce changes in their immune system, changes in their gene expression. Diseases go into remission. We start to see people having very transcendental moments that begin to redefine who they are. So then a clear intention and elevated emotion allows the person then to begin to see a new possibility. The question is then, can they sustain that state? Now, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment. So most people wake up in the morning, and the first thing they do is they start to think about their problems. And those problems are memories that are etched in their brain. And those memories are connected to certain people at certain places with certain things at certain times. And the moment they begin to think about their problems, we could say that they're thinking in the past. Now, every single one of those problems has an emotion associated with them. So then the moment they think about a problem, the brain turns on circuits that are connected to the past, and then all of a sudden they start feeling unhappy. They start feeling unworthy. They start feeling fear or anxiety. Now, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So most people start their day from a state of being that's completely derived from the familiar past. And when people live in the familiar past, they will create a predictable future. And then they get up and they do a series of routine automatic behaviors. They stretch, then they grab their cell phone, they check their WhatsApp, they check their text, they check their email, they check their Facebook, they take a picture of their feet, and then all of a sudden now they're connected to everything known in their lives. And then all of a sudden they go through that same routine behavior. From waking up, getting a cup of coffee, taking a shower, driving to work, and they're in a program. And then we could say then their body is dragging them into a predictable future based on what they did in the past. And 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious beliefs and perceptions, hardwired attitudes that function just like a computer program. So you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. Out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that you think in one day, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. So if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as yesterday, your life is going to stay the same, because the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the exact same emotions. And those same emotions influence your very same thoughts, and your biology, your neurocircuitry, your neurochemistry, your hormones, and even your genetic expression is equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. But if you can teach people how to change the way they think, change the way they act, and change the way they feel, they will begin to create a new life. So then most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. That you literally have to become someone else. Now think about this. I said to change is to be greater than your body. The body as the mind that's been conditioned over time, emotionally and habitually. To change then is also to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the circumstances in your life. And every great person in history understood this, that they were defined by a vision of the future, so much so that they began to live as if that future reality was already manifesting. They weren't waiting for it to happen, they were creating it. So then when it becomes time to change, the hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty. You're not going to be able to predict the next moment. Now, most people say, well, look, I've suffered for the last 20 years. Today, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to blame, I'm not going to make excuses, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself, no more self-pity, I'm just going to stop. Now, they've been thinking and feeling this way for 30 years, and all of a sudden, they're going to stop. First 2 hours goes really well. Then they break a fingernail, or they run out of toilet paper, and their day is ruined. And all of a sudden, then, the body is saying, hey, you have been feeding the same chemistry to this body by feeling the same emotion, and now there's a disruption. Now remember, the body's the mind. So the moment the person makes a different choice, the body starts saying, well, let me influence the mind. And all of a sudden, the person starts hearing these voices in their head. Start tomorrow. This doesn't feel right. It's your mother's fault. It's your ex's fault. I'll never change. It's too hard. And if people respond to that thought as if it's true, that same thought leads to the same choice leads to the same behavior creates the same experience produces the same familiar emotion, it reaffirms their identity, and they say, this feels familiar. That going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, it is the biological, it is the chemical, it is the hormonal genetic death of the old self. And in that void, in that unknown, that is the perfect place to create from. That means then, people say to me, I am in change and I can't predict my future. And I always say the same thing to them. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day? And the act of closing your eyes, this is neuroscience now, can teach people how to do this and have them mentally rehearse what they're going to do. We do this in corporations. All of a sudden, the person gets so present what they're about to do, and they start rehearsing it in their mind, that their brain doesn't know the difference between what's going on out there and what's going on in here. And all of a sudden, they start to install the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for that day. The brain looks like they've already done it. And if you keep doing it over and over again, the hardware becomes a software program, and all of a sudden, this person starts acting like a happy person. Well, they installed the circuits to do that. They start thinking in new ways. There's no magic there. Can you teach a person how to emotionally condition their body into the future? Which means then, they're not going to wait for their life to change to feel gratitude or to feel wholeness or feel love. That is an antiquated model of reality. People spend their whole life waiting for something outside of them to change how they feel inside of them. But when they begin to emotionally teach their body what that future feels like, their body as their unconscious mind begins to believe that they're living in that future reality in the present moment. And the side effect of that now is they start feeling like it's already happened. And now they're no longer looking for change in their life. They are the change in their life.
What are some of the key points we've learned from Dr. Joe? Well, when a person starts feeling the emotions of their future in that instant, their heart begins to respond very differently. Stress of the past causes it to beat out of rhythm, while the joy from thinking about the future you want causes it to beat in more rhythmic pattern. Also, Candle in the year 2000 found that when people learn just one bit of information and they concentrated on it for an hour, they doubled the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. Furthermore, repetition of that information has to be done for those changes to stick. Also, if you can get your behaviors to match your intentions, if you can get your actions equal to your thoughts, if you can get your mind and body working together, you're going to have a new experience. Thus, you are teaching your body chemically to understand that which your mind intellectually understands. Moreover, if you've done it once, then you should be able to do it again. And if you can repeat an experience over and over again, you will begin to condition the mind and the body to begin to work as one. Finally, every day, take time to change from thinking about the past to thinking about the future you want. Put emotion with those thoughts. If it's a new house, you want to see yourself walking through it and get excited about living in your dream house. If it's a new relationship, see yourself with your ideal partner and get excited about finally finding the love of your life. The more you think on this higher level, adding emotion with the thought, the closer you will draw those things you envision into your life. One day, you won't have to envision that anymore because it will be standing right in front of you. Then you can start the process all over again with something else you desire to have in your life. Thanks for listening and watching. Share this video with someone you care about. Help us inspire 1 million people to get past their give up point and win with these quotes and stories of inspiration. Click the like and subscribe buttons. Also click the bell icon so you are notified of new content. Consider becoming a Patreon. Your donation monthly can help us inspire millions of people around the world. Link is below in the description. Now, here are a few more videos that will definitely inspire you to win.